Good morning.
Now we're live.
From Florianopolis.
The sunny, warm mornings are gone, Hans, and the raging, freezing sea has returned.
Such a dramatic thing. You said we were in the sea and you're like, imagine all the glorious mornings are gone forever. No, they will be back. It could be one cloudy, colder day. Makes us appreciate the sun again when it will return tomorrow.
It might not.
It might
be gone forever.
The sun might not rise again, ever. It's unlikely.
We live in darkness for the rest of our days.
Or like, if that would happen, it would be only a couple of days. We'd be dead.
Don't be afraid, son.
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid.
All right. Father's Day is fast approaching.
In the States and UK and other parts of the world, some parts it's a different day. It's already done.
This coming Sunday.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about fathers today and what they face. And Hans going to straighten out his beard.
I was just thinking, I'm sure your father faced a lot more than my father.
That's probably true. Without a doubt.
But then I thought,
So Father's Day is fast approaching. Just a note, this Tuesday and Thursday,
tomorrow,
we're going to do a 2-part webinar on writing a letter of honor for your father. Or a father in your life, in your world. And
I think it's a brilliant idea. I've never said to my father, I love you. I would really like to. It's so hard, especially in my native tongue, Dutch. But I think a letter is a great first step to start exploring how I can honor him, let him know I love him.
yes.
So, yes, I'm looking very much forward to that. Tomorrow is the first.
Well, honoring a father and telling him I love you is two different things,
Yes.
you know. So, and I think oftentimes the honoring goes deeper. The honoring goes deeper. So, yeah.
What time tomorrow?
It's at, what time tomorrow? 1 p.m. Brazil time.
So
noon Eastern and 9 Pacific.
And that's 6 p.m. in Madrid, Brussels, and 5 p.m. in the UK.
So Hans, last night, I was, yesterday afternoon, I was watching, with all the police drama in the U.S. and the rioting and everything. And then there was another young black man killed by some white cops in Atlanta. And I was watching that footage, and I was watching, there was a young black couple, boyfriend, girlfriend. They felt in fear for their life, but were drug out of their car and tased, and felt they were about to die. Very militaristic operation by the police, and I think 5 out of the 6 police in that case were black. But it's something that, when I watch those videos with the police, it just, man, it stirs something inside of me so strong, and not a racial thing. It's the abuse of authority, and I've been in so many situations like that myself. I've seen so much, and it just gets me going, But I transitioned from those, and that's, thinking of fathers and the issues people have with their fathers these days, and the rage against the police and against the patriarchy and all this. There's a link to fathers and to elders in our relationship to older men in our world. And when you have, the police are very much a stand-in for the father, metaphorically speaking. It's like they're the protectors, they're the enforcers, they're laying down the law, they're defending the boundaries. The idea is they're there to protect us. That's the main idea. But when they engage as if you are the enemy, and you must submit, and like there's no sense of protecting you or caring. There's no care.
I think that's an essential point there. Like when I was thinking of fathers, you know, and the parallel, I think that's where maybe a lot of the frustration, anger comes from. If we don't feel they care for us.
Yes. So if you're being, you know, if it's very easy in the States to just feel like the police driving around are just looking to harass you. There's so many laws, ever increasing laws. They could get you for whatever they want. Mm-hmm. You know, they could just pull you over. They could, you know, and if you try to stand up for your rights, they'll still haul you into jail. You know, it's like you just submit. There's no standing for your rights. And so it's very easy to have that rage, you know, which I very much lived with all my years as an adult in the States.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting because in Europe, I get a little bit of a sense it's going more that direction. But I never had that growing up really, like fear of the police.
Yeah. They're
more like, I think more of them like bobbies, like the English, you know, they don't have guns.
Right.
And they're like they just
like at school when you had those kids who were the hallway patrol guys, I don't know how they do it in Europe, but like these kids that volunteer to kind of help people keep the rules and help people cross the street and stuff like this.
Right.
But they don't have weapons.
Right.
They're not going to haul you into jail. You know, they're not going to abuse you. So, yeah, it's I think that.
Come a little bit closer, you're not on the screen.
I think that this situation with the police, one, I think it harms the relationship to masculinity and to fathers and to men. And the opposite, our relationship with our fathers interferes with our relationship with the police. Anyway, I was watching later on that night, you know, the videos I was watching kind of evolved into.
This life is gonna be taking us down the rabbit hole of YouTube videos on a Sunday afternoon.
Yes. Well, there was no whiskey involved, so you know, it probably could have gone into darker holes. But I started watching these YouTube clips of, I think it's, what is it called, like Scared Straight or something like this, or you know, they take these young kids to prisons. You know, they've been stealing or they've been lying and smoking, you know, doing drugs or whatever, these teenagers. And they'll take like a group of them, like maybe 12 of them, 10 of them, something like that, into these hardcore prisons. And they like have to live there for a week, sleep there in their own cell. And then these hardcore inmates, you know, come out and like get in their face and insult them, intimidate them, trying to essentially scare the living shit out of them to where they're like, Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I'll respect you. I'm going to stop doing this. Like, I don't want to end up here. Can I please come back with you? You know, that's the idea. And I found it fascinating to watch, but it also put the fear of God into me. Like, fuck, I don't want to end up there. I started looking at my life. I was like, you know, like, what kind of shit could I get in trouble for if I'm not careful? You know, there's some shit I got to clean up. But, and then those videos kind of evolved into, I was watching young men getting hauled before the court system and accused of, you know, murder, rape, you know, these sorts of things. And there's this one video that really struck me, and it was a young black man, 24 years old, and he was out with some friends, and they were at a university, and I think he went into a female dorm, or they were in a female dorm, something like this, and he put a weapon of some kind up to this white girl and told her to come with him, and then he took her out to a corner of the parking lot, you know, and forced her to strip, and then, you know, raped her with his fingers and whatever. And then like hours later, like he's in front of the judge, so it's just him and the judge. It's like maybe, I don't know, maybe it's like 7 a.m. or something, right? There's just a couple people in the courtroom, just like the bailiff and the whoever. And she's like, this is just to let you know what your rights are, what you're being accused of. Make sure you understand, blah, blah, blah. Here's how it's going to work. And it's like, you know, who do you live with? Where's your family? You know? And he's like, I live with my father. And then the video is edited, you know, and the father arrives. And she reads off the charge, like what his son has been accused of. And you just see like the grief of the father, you know, and the disappointment. And she asked the father, you know, if he had any questions, and he's like, just for my son, you know. And it was a really emotional moment, you know. But just in that moment, I just thought about, like, imagine you're a father, because I'm not a father, you're not a father.
Not that we know.
In a literal sense. And imagine you do have a young, angry son, you know, a son who's more aggressive than most sons or whatever. And, you know, you can imagine spending the majority of your time just worried about, how's my son going to turn out? Can I steer him in the right way? You don't have total control over your children, you know. And what if my son ends up in prison and it's like his worst nightmare has come true, you know. And he's probably pretty convinced he's going to lose his son for maybe forever inside of the prison. He might never get out. And so as I was watching that, and watching, there was another video. It was one of these kids that was in this Scared Straight thing. It was like maybe a 13-year-old chubby white kid, and so he's in there, and he really got scared. You know, not all of them get really scared, but he was one of the ones that really got scared. He was, you know, you see tears coming down his face and stuff, and it was pretty fucking intense. Man, I was trying to imagine how would I feel in that situation, because I was a really like naive, innocent,
right,
you know, kid to be in the fucking pen with these fucking dudes, man. But so and then they show like a month later after the program, what's happened later. And there's this scene with his father and the son, and the son's really changed his behavior, and the father confronting the son. He's like telling him about the changes he sees, and he's like now I could actually, like, I trust you, and I could see, you know, turning, you know, you running this business one day. And just the look of like the way this little boy's eyes just like lit up by being praised by his father was incredible. It was just incredible.
I think what you said with the worry, that really struck me, you know, to really be like, because I think that's what we want to do when we're going to honor our father, is really like walk their shoes, you know. And I think as a boy we don't get it, you know, that our fathers probably worry.
Yeah.
I was talking with Sophie the other day, and I asked her, what do you want to know, what you want men to know about women? And she said most women are constantly afraid. They're afraid of like something might happen. And I can see how fathers, you know, they're worried about like where's the son gonna end up.
Yes.
You know, and we don't get it. Yeah. We're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, it's a huge part of, you know, the honor work that I do, is really stepping into the shoes of the other, seeing what they're facing and feeling. But it's just one piece. That's the empathy piece, right?
Yes.
But there's other pieces, and we'll do that when we go to do the honor letters this week. But talking about like fathers being worried, in like my father growing up, we were Mormon, and it's, you know, probably like many religions, it's if you don't walk the straight and narrow path in life, you go to hell, like all eternity burning in hell, you know. It if you can imagine, you know, because it might sound a little funny to you and me, like, because it's not part of our beliefs that this is what's at stake. But imagine you have a son, and like literally, he could end up for all eternity tormented in hell. You know, I mean that's a lot at stake right there. So it's not just, is my kid going to end up in jail, or is he going to turn out all right? Is he going to become a drug addict? Is he going to end up poor? Is he going to, you know, is he going to get killed? Is he? I mean, I think one thing that we don't, not being parents, and I think for mothers this is even greater, because you've carried this human inside of you for 9 months. It's literally like a part, like its heartbeat, its feelings. You can feel it, and then its body is against you for the first few years, and they're regulating between the nervous systems, you know. And like I've heard so many mothers say this, that it's like your heart is outside of you. It's like there's a part of you that's completely vulnerable, unable to defend itself, and it's out there in the world somewhere, in school or whatever, and like you can't protect it, and it's just completely vulnerable. And I think it's probably less so for fathers than mothers, but still, yeah. And then my father, you know, imagine, like, we had so many rituals, and there were so many things that my parents did to help us stay on that straight and narrow path. You know, there was every Monday evening for a few hours we'd gather as a family, and it's a church thing. Then you know, Wednesdays is scouts, and my dad was involved in that. Often on the weekends there's more scouting stuff, father and son stuff on Saturdays or whatever. And on Sundays, like, the church is like 4 hours. Then you can often go, like, sometimes we go with my dad to visit members in the church who may not, they're kind of in, they're kind of out. There's you know, there's conferences, there's so. My father would wake us up in the morning to sit and read scriptures at the kitchen table, read from the scriptures before we go to church, before we eat breakfast. Family prayer, like 3 times a day. On and on and on and on and on.
I'm wondering if you got away from it despite all of that, or because of all of that.
Because of all the rituals?
Yes. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, I'm just imagining your father, you know, seeing you leave the...
Yeah, I don't think so. For me, that was a beautiful part of it. Because, yeah, it was about family, and it was about good feelings and belonging. I wouldn't say that's why I got away from it.
But you did, and all of your brothers did, and all of your sisters did.
Yeah, so talk about like what my father's facing, and imagine like, well, as my parents go through the divorce, the feelings of like, because almost no Mormons, especially back then, get divorced. And the whole thing is about families. And here's your family going to war, getting split up, and like the sense of failure, you know, like all of that, and I failed. And then the fear of like, what's going to happen to my kids? How is this going to affect their marriages? How is this going to affect their lives?
Does you still think you're going to burn in hell for eternity?
Well, there's other middle places you could go, you know.
Sticks.
So there's different, like Mormons believe there's different degrees of heaven. At the highest level, you get to spend it with people on that highest level in God and Jesus and whatever. And then at the middle level, and then the lower level, and then there's hell, and there might even be an in-between place. You know, it's been a long time since I've been in that world, but he probably doesn't think we're going to hell, but it's going to be a lot. Not going to be able to be together like we could have been, not in the same way.
Wow.
So
It must be tough for him. I'm imagining his.
Yeah, I know he's wept many nights, many times. I know he's prayed about his children many times. And I know like over the years, he goes to see one of us or all of us or whatever. And he thinks about, like, for days, probably, and hours, how am I going to reach my kids this time? How am I going to touch their heart? How am I going to inspire them to come back? You know? And Yeah, so
Make a stand for that tomorrow.
as I think about, like, we talk about going back for your brothers, I guess there's a lot of ways that my dad has come back for me and wanted to bring me back to the church, you know. That's not where I want to go, but the fact that he's trying to save his son is incredibly inspiring, you know, and his children, and that he lives with that suffering and the sense of failure he has around that. Yeah. So, what are our fathers facing? What did they face? What are they facing now? What have they faced at different points in our past?
What's your father facing? You know, anyone watching?
Yeah.
It's going to be a big part tomorrow of
Putting together these honor letters.
yes.
What have they been facing and feeling?
I think it's a great exercise. I'm thinking of my father. My first thought is nothing but joy, you know, and pride for his great son. But no, for sure, you know, he must have been, because I was a rebel like he was, and it's motherfucker, you know.
Well, after 3 months living with you,
dealing with that,
I am beginning to imagine what the many, many things your father faced, the depths of hell.
Just to give you an idea, my father thinks that I'm dirty, so
He thinks you're dirty?
he thinks that I'm dirty.
Well, you are. So,
All right,
yes.
maybe say the details again for tomorrow. And
Tuesday and Thursday at noon, you can attend either one, but they are sequential.
Eastern time, noon.
There's one, and then the other. You can join our Honoring Fathers Facebook group, and there's an event inside of there, so you can sign up for the event as well, and it has the dates and.
You're gonna put the link underneath?
Webinars. Yes, I'll put the link under the Facebook post.
So join the Facebook group, and then we do the exercise 27 hours from now.
Welcome.
Go.